Hello, welcome back to More Fun Fixing It. I'm here today with an Amstrad, and it's a good job I've got my extra wide-angled lens on because otherwise it wouldn't fit. Ugh, it's just ridiculous how big this thing is. Here is a banana for scale. It's a whole tape deck extra. This belongs to my friend Fuzzy Lee, and it's been here for a while. He's asked me to have a look at it because it wouldn't power on. There was no power light coming up here, and I said, that's all right. It'll be the switch. And here, it's always the switch on these. But, well, he came round and we tested the switch, and the switch is actually fine. I put my multimeter on continuity. There's nothing there. Switch it on. Switch is fine. Look, 0. No ohms. It's a perfect switch. So what else could it be? So the power comes in here, and the points around it look a little bit crusty. Just see, they're not exactly well soldered through the board. You would expect some solder to be flowing up those legs, but there's nothing there. So let's get this motherboard out and have a look. Amstrads are quite simple machines, and they're very, very well built. So you never really expect them to go wrong. But the only thing that can have a bearing is people. And people is what's gone wrong here. Right, so looking here, you can see there's already a bodge wire, and I can tell you that the solder around that point there is not good, and I think they lifted a pad here. But that's not the problem, because if I put this multimeter on continuity again and measure between these 2 points, there is continuity there. So it's not that side, but if I measure from this point here to this point here, there's no continuity. So there is a break somewhere between there and there, and I can just see there's a little crack there. I can show you that. Look, let's get closer. Closer. Oh, it might be too close. Yeah, look. Oh, the whole thing's moving. It's broken on that side as well. Oh dear. What's happened here? Who hurt you? This one's solid, but it's not connected. Yeah, that's not connected to either of those. I'm just going to drop some flux on there, like that. And I'm going to give it some fresh solder right on that point. Yeah, the pad's gone. I think I'm going to have to remove all of that and find out what's underneath there. It's probably the best idea. So I'm just going to heat up the desoldering gun to give it an initial blast of desoldering, and then we'll see what's what. Just want to remove most of the solder. Have a quick look. Yeah, there's absolutely no pad there at all. Half of that one's gone as well. Let's get this bodge wire out of the way. I think that's a bit of pad there on the end of the iron. All right, at least that pad's there, and that's good. I'll just reflow that. Ish. Oh look, there's the pad. I need to get a bit more solder off of this side. That's probably okay. I'm going to replace it anyway. Okay, there are 4 pads on the, sorry, 3 pads on the top, but they don't connect to anything. So there's no point in connecting from one side to the other, but I'm going to use these to anchor the new socket in place. So I can use that pad at the back and the one at the side there to flow solder, and then I can just attach everything on the bottom. Let's get some blue tack in here just to hold it in place while I anchor one of these. I've got lots of blue tack there. Yeah, it's not actually attached. Try that again. That's better. Okay. So now on this side, I've got nothing here holding these in place, but I need to attach wires to these, obviously. So I'll attach this one and this one together, and I'm going to try and get the solder mask off of this bit, just so it's got some more stability on this side. I don't think this is especially well held down, but it will give it a little bit more strength. Let's give that a clean up actually while we're here. Now we can see better what we're dealing with. Right, so this point here is connected to this point here. So I can, obviously I can expose some solder mask here. And then connect that to there. Yeah, I can connect this to here just to give it a bit more strength. I'll also connect it to this side as well. Like that. You never realise how dirty your tweezers are until you see them under a microscope. Right, so we're going to connect that one to there. Let's get a blob of flux on there. Just going to put a bit of blue tack over here just to hold this in place. Right, blob of flux on that bit. Actually, I'm going to just snip that off while I've got it here. Nope, I'll do that after. Okay, and then I can just attach these to here like this. Just put lots of solder on that point there just to give it a bit more strength. And the same with this one here. Now this should be super strong. It's not pretty, but it will do. I might even put some solder mask on that just to give it even more strength. Paint over that whole section, but I've got to fix this bit next. And this one, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use a component leg, pretty much what they've done, but instead of connecting to this point, I'm just going to connect to the trace here. Although that's not the worst idea, but no, I just like the neatness of this being connected to this trace. It just appeals to me more, and we've got plenty of strength here. I'm gonna compromise by connecting it to the whole of this trace. Right, I'm gonna hold that in place with a bit of blue tack up this end. Just so that it's sitting on the trace itself, and marvellous. There we go. That looks pretty good to me. Let's get some solder mask on there. Excellent. So now that's done, I can just put my UV flashlight on it like this and leave it for a bit. But instead, what I'm going to do is take it outside because it's a gloriously sunny day, and that thing in the sky can give out a lot more UV light than my little flashlight. So I'm going to do that. I'm also going to take out, just for an experiment, this piece of tape which I put far too much solder mask on, and I'm going to put that down next to it just to see when things are dry and how it copes with the thickness of this, just for fun. So I'll show you that after. I have returned from the outside. It's been a few hours actually. I left this out in the sun for a while, so it'll be a good test. I'm not sure how much better it would have been or worse it would have been with the flashlight, but I might have to experiment with that at some point in the future with a similar sized blob. I can show you the blob first. Here's the blob. This is the blob, and you can see I've already poked it and it's starting to ooze. Ooh. Bloop, bloop. Yeah. So the thing with UV light, or something that's UV curable, is it will only cure on the outside. UV light won't penetrate it. So unless it was clear. So this is to be expected. This is expected behavior, and it's one reason why you should probably do something like this with multiple coats, unless I blasted this with something industrial strength. But that's pretty solid actually. I'm not going to poke it too hard, but yeah, there's a little bit of give there. Oh, there's some give there. So what I'm going to do is probably just break this up a bit, and then I'll put it back outside just to cure as much of it as I can. But yeah, I think the lesson learned there is to do it in multiple coats, multiple thin coats, cure it on each coat. But let's see if it actually works. I have to say, I'm really loving working with the microscope on these repairs now, especially on something like this. So let's have a look at the top side. Yeah, the top side is looking good. There's plenty of solder that's on this side as well. These, I noticed when I was editing up the footage that this pad is probably a bit loose. This one seems solid, but it being anchored on the other side should be enough. I am tempted to put some hot glue around this area here, but let's see if it works first. So I have to put this in its case. Well, I don't have to put it in its case. What you can do is you can attach you can bridge two of the pins here that actually switch it on. There's two of these pins here go off to the top case, to this cable here, which lead to the switch, and that's how it switches on. But I'm not going to do that because on this version they don't use a pin header. They use this weird, I don't know what you would call this sort of connector here, but it's not, and it's something that's easy to connect two pins together. Just to hold it in place, I'll connect the keyboard up as well. I've got a feeling Lee has already refurbished this tape deck because it looks really, the rubber belt looks really good. Right, so we've got some RGB to go in here, that way up, and these weird cables have, because the SCART needs, the blanking signal on the SCART needs 5 volts, so there's a splitter part of the cable here, and I've got my power supply connected to this bit, and then this bit then goes onto the computer itself, and I feed it 5 volts and it should come on. Oh, the switch. Where's the switch? Absolutely nothing. Not a sausage. Right, so let's see if we've got 5 volts coming in. There's nothing coming in. Well, the capture I'm using doesn't need 5 volts, so it's just turned on. Yep, it's turned on. It's working. I think it's my cable. I think my cable might be broken. I'll have to investigate that. I've probably yanked one of the lines out of there. So the OSSC that I'm using doesn't need the planking signal to work. But if I plug this into my Samsung TV over here, I'd get no picture at all. But here we go. Press play. I don't have a lot of tapes for 464. These are the ones that Simon Osborne gave me. I know Bugs Quest works, and I always load that, but I want to try something else. But, oh, Roland in the Caves. I didn't know I had that. Let's try Roland in the Caves. It's a classic. And press any key. Oh. Why is it doing that? Oh, it's loading. Yeah, there's some graphical corruption going on there that I don't think is supposed to be there. It works, and it's very loud. Well, yeah, that pot definitely needs sorting. Well, this is still broken. Z jump left, slash jump right, cursors to scroll, and A to abandon. G for game. Oh, it's a... Go away. Oh, this is ridiculously impossible. I don't like this game. But yeah, we've got some screen corruption going on there, so I'm just going to see if I can eliminate what that might be. So I've popped the board back out, and I'm going to have a little bit of a poke around to find out where all that screen corruption is coming from. I'm going to have to look at schematics and things because I know very little about these systems. And because it's not going to work without everything attached to it, I need to connect pin 1 and pin 3 here together, and that completes the switch circuit. So let's just grab a random piece of wire. So I'm just going to connect these on the back side. Let's flow a bit of extra solder in there. That'll do. And now that should power up without the tape deck attached. If I can find a power lead. Yeah, right. And I do have some corruption on there. So let's first of all have a look with a thermal camera. I was just looking. This chip here, IC108, is warmer. The sound chip, the AY sound chip, is quite warm. That Toshiba chip at IC107 is not very warm at all. None of the memory is warmer than it should be. The CPU is a little, yeah, it's actually running quite cool. And that Amstrad chip there is fine. Nothing there looks untoward. That one is getting quite toasty. It's a good 40 degrees, that is. Well, I shall have a poke around in the schematics and see if I can educate myself and work out what's going wrong here. Something is wrong, and this is quite a nice thing because you don't get faulty Amstrads. They just don't happen. Well, I think I've found it. If I switch it on, you can see the screen corruption has gone, and it wasn't anything very exciting. I did start looking at schematics, and I started having a look at old Noel's Retro Lab videos. It's been so long since I've seen an old video, I've forgotten what his channel's called. We miss you, Noel. And I'm sure he'll watch this because it's Amstrad. And I thought I should go back and make sure that everything, all of the simple stuff is sorted out. And so I put on my high quality headgear and started looking at the back of the board for dry solder joints. And I found this lump of solder actually sitting between these two pins here. It might have been these two or these two. And before I turned on, where's it gone? Before I turned on the cameras, I touched it and it fell off. It wasn't very well attached, but it was attached enough to be causing a problem. So that's fixed. And this one is now fully working. The keyboard works, the tape deck works. I will put it all back together and give it back to Lee, and then he's going to butcher it, I think. But that's for him to share with you. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget that this is my second channel. So you might not have subscribed to this one. I'm more fun making it, Lee, but this is more fun fixing it. And so I've got two channels you can subscribe to. I mean, that's a lot of work for you to do, but I've entertained you for however long this was. So maybe just do me a favor and click on that button. God, that's very beggy, isn't it? Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. I hope you enjoyed that. Bye. I'll talk a load of dribble.